Hey boys, welcome back to the channel. If you guys enjoyed the last video, we're still working on subframe stuff. Thanks for returning, thanks for coming back. We're gonna start tackling all this stuff, and as you know, it is, the end of the season. It's almost November, getting close to the Halloween day. Mid-October, well, actually it's October 26th, I think, so we're real close to Halloween, and the sun likes to go down around 6:30, so it's already dark outside. It's late afternoon. We're gonna go outside and we're gonna start tearing the car apart in the dark, but don't worry, it's not gonna be terrible. I know that I don't have a garage and all that. I have some lights out there, so you guys will be able to see what I'm doing. I'm gonna try to explain some stuff, so let's go ahead and head out. Here she is. You can see right up under the GSX's back end here, and there's some rust on it, but subframe and the exhaust pipe, we'll worry about the exhaust pipe later. Subframe is definitely gonna be out of there. We have a lot of stuff we got to do. First, we're going to pull these wheels off. We're going to stick them someplace safe, probably roll them downstairs in the basement. Then we have to come up here, and some of you guys, most of you guys will have a cover right here. I have one of these rear upper strut, or what is it? You know what I'm talking about, this bar. I have one of these bars here. So normally, all you have to do is come in here and take out the two bolts that are inside of here, and that's going to release the strut from the top here. We're going to do that on both sides, and we're going to get underneath the car, and we're going to start pulling off some of the bolts that are down here. And there are quite a few bolts we have to take out. So you can see this ugly rusty exhaust pipe. That's what you get for buying them from Amazon. Maybe I'll recoat that, I don't know. But once the wheel's off, we're going to have to pop the hangers. We're going to have to take off the control arm nuts. We're going to have to take off the sway bar bolts and the bushings and the fastener. We're going to have to move this exhaust out of the way. Luckily it's clamped right there about, I don't know, 2 feet in front of the jack. So I'll take that clamp out. We can slide this whole back section off. I made it in 3 parts purposely. We have to drop our control arms. We have to crack all this hardware free. It's been soaked a bunch of times with PB Blaster and WD-40 and all that. Hopefully it all comes apart simply and it's not a huge fight. I don't have any new control arms right now, but I will order some, so all I have to do is take the back wheel off and swap control arms out and all that fun. Not really worried about that right now, but you're gonna need your blowtorch, a good socket set, some heavy big breaker bars probably. Just a nice little plethora of tools. Yeah, let's get after this, guys. I'm gonna get off my back and crawl back under here in a few minutes. So let's pull these tires off first. Alright guys, so at the start of this, I've got the wheels off. I'm leaving the axle nuts in for right now. I can't remember if I have to take those out. I don't think I have to take those out. I'm gonna crack these 12mm bolts free back here on the sway bar. I'm going to crack, or I already did crack apart, this ball joint on the control arm. There's another bolt right down there you can see that has to get cracked free, and that's for the other side of the control arm here. I did all 4 of the bolts up here on the upper control arm. I did this end one here, and I don't know if I'm gonna need to take this one out or not, but better to just crack them free now so it's not a twisty, bendy mess. We're gonna have to take out this one up front, pop this plug out, and we can get to the bolt inside here. And we're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. I'm gonna crack all the bolts free that I can crack free on this side. We're gonna leave, I don't know, we'll probably take the rotor and the caliper and pull them off just to make life a little easier to see behind everything. And we're just gonna keep tooling along here and just taking everything we can take apart. I have the cammed bolt right there. You can kind of see it popped out. The jack is sitting on that control arm. The jack stand is, so I have to find a different jack point here. I've got this control arm popped, the caliper, rotor, all that stuff's pulled just to make life easier. This bolt right here, it's a 17mm on the front and back, and this dust shield is in the way in such a way that I don't know if I'm going to be able to pop that thing out very easily with my extended 1/2-inch wrenches. Can also work on getting these bolts here. There's one here, and then there's another one right inside of here, inside of the rubber mount. I'm not gonna take this thing out because I can just disconnect it down here, hopefully, this forward control arm. I'm trying to get as much stuff broken free as I can now on this side, then I'm gonna go over and do the other side real fast. It's all mirrored, so whatever I take out here, I'm gonna have to take out over there, with the exception of this exhaust hanger, because the exhaust is only on one side on this car. I also have to crack free that bolt in there, but I think what I'm going to do is, now that this control arm is free here, I'm going to try to drop the whole subframe down complete, and then just swap the parts over from this one to the new one, slide it back under the car, and jack it up into place. That bolt free, I've got the front bolt free, I've got this control arm out, I've got the lower control arm, the nut and washer off. That's the ones right here on the back. Yeah, right here behind the that bolt right there. I got it pushed out pretty far. I don't want to have it out all the way yet because it's holding the hub on still, and I still have to take off this sway bar link right there. You can kind of see. Yeah, there you go, you can see it. So next thing I'm going to work on is disconnecting this e-brake cable from the mount right here, and then I'm going to let this cable just hang down, and hopefully, from what I've read, I've never done one of these before, so I'm hoping from what I read, if it's accurate, I should be able to leave this e-brake attached to this hub and just drop this down, and this cable will not be holding it up in the air once I take that last bolt right there out. It's a 12 millimeter, so all these are 17, 17, back of this is 17, this is a 17, 14s and 12s. That's kind of all you're going to use on the majority of this so far. Boys, let me tell you something. These last couple projects I've been working on have been hell with the editing. It's been so hard to keep straight what I'm doing down here. All the clips are different. Every time I upload something onto my computer to edit, it's from the other project or this project. I've been bouncing back and forth a lot is what I'm trying to say. But right here we have our stock subframe, our rear subframe from the GSX. And it is very, very, very rusty. There's a lot of rot on it, a lot of cracks. You see it looks kind of wet right now. It's not really wet. It's this rust reformer gel that I sprayed on everything. This differential, take a look at it. Looks kind of black in some places, right? You can see some white crusties on it. When I took this thing out, I swear to you, the entire thing was this color rust. That orange rust right there. The whole thing looked like it. It was terrible. The whole thing was just rusty and nasty. So a couple of things that I noticed. I found a big crack on it. Found some more rust damage on this subframe. That's fine, whatever. And tonight what we're working on, those clips that I painted also was a waste of time because they hold your ABS lines. We're going to just pull this electronic stuff out of here. We're not using the ABS system anymore. We're deleting it. We're going non-ABS on the GSX. What we need from this thing, we need the knuckle, the spindle arm that goes up to the upper control arm there. We need the differential, this piece right here, because I'm going to have to re-powder coat. Or did I paint it? I can't remember. Well, we're gonna make this one. I think I painted it. We're gonna make this look good. We need the axles, the diff, and the knuckles. That's it. Let's get after it, guys. Okay guys, it's getting late. This is a mess. It's a total mess. I'll show you. You see that down there? That's a pile of rust that came off this subframe. I've cut the ABS sensor wire on the left and the right. We have the knuckle over here with the axle. There's also the inner axle stuck in the differential right there, and the inside of the axle on the driver's side hub here. Yeah, I have a boot kit coming. We have a couple of sensors to drill out of the hubs. Got to remove the upper control arms still. Eventually we'll replace these lowers I can't remember. I ordered so many parts. I don't remember if I ordered that control arm or the ones adjacent, the forward and rearward. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If not, we have two that we can use sitting right here with two good bolts. Yeah, this is a lot of nasty, rusty crap. So the bar that I pulled off of here, this bar right here, we're going to use. I'm going to clean it up. This guy right here, because the one that I have right now is really, really dented bad. So we're going to finish pulling the differential off this thing tomorrow, and I think there's a couple more bolts. Yeah, we got to pull the rearward control arms off to get the bolts out. I got that bolt free. This bolt is not free yet, but I used my air hammer. This little tiny central pneumatic air hammer, guys. If you don't have an air hammer, this little guy works fantastic. And again, I just hacked the tip of one of the bits off to make it flat so I could use it for like a punching end. But that's all I'm gonna do tonight. All right, boys, that was a bear. It had some rusty bolts. Go figure, right? Rusty bolts. This New York State from Florida, I think, GSX had rust on it. Crazy. Anyways, I got a little pile over here. I've got some wheels, some struts, a strut tower brace, rotors, blah, blah, blah. We got our axles. One's missing the inner cup, which is still sitting right here in this diff. And you can see the top of this thing. It's pretty crusty. It's got a lot of dirt and buildup and junk on it. We are gonna clean this thing off, and we're gonna fix this up, get it nice and pretty looking. I'm probably gonna pull the cover off the back of it, do a full service on it, pop this axle cup out. And if you guys ever pop these axle cups out, there's actually a metal race in the back here. It's right on the inside of the cup where it goes into the diff. I think, yeah, this one right here has it on it still. This little guy right here. So don't try to pry in front of that and like slip the axle out from the housing where the grease and all that goes and the bearing is, but, or the joint rather. Try to pop it off just inside of that metal right there. If you guys look, you can see that steel right here. You gotta pry from the race on the left and it pops the whole thing out. I am going to pop that out, and I'm going to start cleaning the outside of this thing off. I'm going to plug the holes once the axle cup is out, and we're going to get this thing coated with some of that Rust-Oleum stuff I keep preaching about in these videos, and it really, 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 really helps. Also, that's a huge pile of rust and dirt, and I wanted to show you guys while we're here. This is the stock subframe. The grease you can see right here from the axle boot that was blown out. That's pretty bad. Right here, when I got the car, there was a rust hole in this subframe. It was about the size of a nickel. In New York State, they wouldn't pass me for inspection because of it. So that was what inspired me to go out and buy a flux core welder, that cheap Harbor Freight one that was on sale. But this subframe is shot. The surface rust is not just surface rust, it's structural rust. The control arms are pretty rough. They're going in the bin, most of them. I have 4 control arms coming. No, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6. I have 2 uppers, 2 forward lowers, and 2 rearward lowers, and then there's one more that I need to buy, which is the center parts that attach to the sway bar links. But anyways, you guys can see this. The ABS lines are still in this thing. We're not going to use it. That diff bushing is shot. That diff bushing is actually pushed out from the rear. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah, you can see that one. That one's pretty destroyed. It's mangled back there. This one's pushed out a little bit, not a lot, but that one's definitely toast. And the crack that I was talking to you guys about, where is that? Oh, right here's one hole. That's terrible. And this was what was causing the shimmy on the highway, coupled with, right there, that's got a hole in it. All the spots that are rusty, basically, they were flexing. So when you get on the interstate and you're trying to drive, it was twisting and tweaking and bending. And it would do it at speed with, you know, a lot of stress on these mount points. So you can imagine going 70 down the interstate. If you're following the flow of traffic and you have a cracked or rotted subframe where there's all this crap, these holes in it where these mount points are just flexing and twisting and bending under stress and load, you get a little wheel shimmy. And it's not good. That coupled with these ancient control arms, these uppers are really rough also. You can see the inside of this one right here. It's all just filled with crap. It's all coated with junk. These are both getting replaced. We just have to clean this diff off, service it, and then we're gonna put this thing all back together. I've plugged the holes, got the axle cup out, spilled a little tiny bit, just a touch of that beautiful Glade plug-in scented oil that's down here inside of our rear diffs. We're gonna rebuild this axle. I'll go over that with you guys if you have any issues with rebuilding rear axles. Let's go over there, clean some stuff off, put some rust dissolver on the part, and hopefully we can bring the outer case of this diff back to its former glory, so to speak. I made some progress with my wire wheel and my drill and my air tools, getting some of the surface rust off this thing. I've chipped a lot of it off with my welding chipping hammer. That thing worked great. The cover, starting to look better. I just sprayed this thing with some more Rust-Oleum gel. I'm gonna leave it for probably 35-45 minutes. It's the next day, another next day. This thing is pretty white. The rust dissolver looks like it did its job. I laid it on pretty thick, and from what I can see, it looks like it's taken off a lot of the factory coating that was left on there and dissolved a ton of the rust. So there's a little bit left on it. I went pretty crazy last night using my 36 grit grinding little disc thing with a pressure regulator on it. I scrubbed it all down to the wire wheel again at the end, and then put the last of the Rust-Oleum gel coat that I had on it. I'm gonna clean this thing off once it's finally scrubbed down and, you know, rinsed off with some hot water, and already we're gonna put it on the bench. I spent quite a while, a lot of time here scrubbing this diff down, and you guys can see it's got a little surface rust. This is flash rust that's on it now. Actually, it was pretty darn clean. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and clean this whole thing down with some brake parts cleaner. Get it nice and degreased. Put some of this SEM rust trap on there. This is a urethane coating, and this is like the undercoating that you put on your car. We're going to use the same stuff when we go outside and do the wheel arch. Let's get some stuff knocked out. Got this diff cover off of here, and the drain plug. I didn't pull the drain plug yet because I'm just letting this drip into a trash can real fast. Everything looks pretty good in here. All this stuff looks all right. There was a very light amount of magnetic crap stuck to the drain plug, which is magnetic, obviously. These are all 14mm bolts that come off of here, and I believe the drain and fill plugs are 24mm. Yes, 24 mils. So what I like to do personally before I do like a transfer case or rear diff, I always crack the fill plug first, because if, you know, your diff's mounted to the back of your car and you can't get the fill plug to pop out, but you've already drained it, you're kind of in trouble. What I'm going to work on is getting the rest of this fluid pulled out of here. We're going to clean off this face right here. I have a tungsten carbide scraping tool. I mean, you use whatever scraper you want. You can take, you know, some sandpaper if you want to clean up these edges a little bit too. I'm gonna get all the old RTV off of here. We got to get all the inside of the cover cleaned off and the RTV off of that. I'm gonna get this knocked out, and we're gonna keep on moving along with the project, boys. It's going along pretty smooth so far, but we will see. Let's spray this out for a couple of minutes, all right? Like every time I start to get close to being ready to put one part of this thing back together, I go, you know what? Well, I have it all apart. Might as well sandblast the back diff cover, and I might as well sandblast the hardware that holds the diff cover on, and I might as well, you know, scrub all the rest of the grease and the grime off the other bolts and the mounting hardware and powder coat them. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm going to spray this stuff down. I'm just going to paint this, and the rest of the mounting hardware, the bolts, I'm going to do black powder coat. I'm going to clean off my oven, fire it up. I'm going to throw some bolts and hardware in the sandblaster, clean them off, prep them, get this thing up to about 400 degrees, get my powder coater out, and we're just going to bake some parts real fast. I'm not going to bother recording this. I'll show you guys that stuff in another video. Let's get after this. Still moving forward. So many things to do. I've got the painted bolt heads for the diff cover right here. They're dry. The cover is all dried up. It's looking really nice. Yeah, let's keep tooling along. diff is starting to look real nice. I'm going to put another coat on this. It's starting to kind of look not new, but really pretty used. Now we're going to work on fixing this. This is our knuckle off of the driver's side, I believe. We have ourselves some control arms, the uppers right here, and we have a busted axle here. The boot is ripped in half completely. This is what we're going to use. This is our Dorman Unifit. It's a 614001, sub number 015-1957-4. We're going to have to take this thing apart, clean it off, get it packed with fresh grease, new boot, and connect this end down here so we can keep using it. First, we're going to snip off the remainder of this boot. And then if you look right down here, there's actually, underneath this grease is like a circlip right here on the end of it. We're going to take that clip out. We're going to slide these 3 wheels straight off the shaft here. We're going to slide our new boot on. We're going to put our 3-wheel CV shaft bearing here with the needle bearings in it back on, pack it with fresh grease, clean this rubber off the other side here, and we're going to put our new boot freshly packed with the same clip in, and we're going to attach a circlamp here, and we will have ourselves a usable rear inner axle again. I'm going to get started. In case you guys have an axle, an inner or an outer, and you're left with this joint right here and this joint right here, at the end of it, the cup, this is the axle cup, and this is the joint itself. It's full of needle bearings. There's 3 different bearings here with a bunch of needle bearings inside of it. If you can roll these bad boys and they feel nice and smooth, all 3 of them, and they're not falling apart, chances are they're probably all right. I have a little welding scribe. I will put a little arrow right here on the edge of it. Just a crude little mark. That way I can see my little arrow. I know that this is the end that points out. And this little guy sits right along the edge here, so I just pop it right out with some circlip pliers. Set it off to the side for now. And then what you can do is grab yourself a little tappy and just lightly tap on it a couple of times. It'll break free and it should come right off. So now we have our joint, we have our axle here, and what we're going to do is clean this whole area off. There's some dirt on the shaft back here. We're not worried about the dirt back here. We're worried about this part right here. We want to clean from the point where the clamp goes on to the end of the threads here. Then we're going to go ahead and slide our boot on, clamp it in place. And another thing that you guys want to watch out for, clean up the outside of this thing, clean up the sealing area where the clamp goes on, clean around here and don't grease it right here, and then clean the inside of the axle cup. This one's not damaged, luckily, it's just dirty, so I'm going to rinse this off with some hot water and degreaser, get it all nice and clean. We're going to save our circlip off to the side. We're going to clean the needle bearings off in these 3 joints here and just get those nice and fresh. So this will go on. We will clamp it on the inside, stick it inside. Still we have to push it out the back here, but we'll clamp the back on first. We will put a little bit of grease on the bearing. We'll slide the bearing back in. We'll put our circlip back in. Then what we're going to do is pack the end of this axle cup with the rest of the grease, and we're going to clamp it on right here where the clean green line is on this, and slide it back on, and we should have ourselves a functioning inner CV axle. You want to get the old grease out first. We've done that, check. Now you just compare this thing. What you're going to do is figure out which size fits. So you can buy, you know, one that fits exactly, but this one requires cutting. You can see there's an inner lip for a band and an outer lip for a band. The inner lip in this case is the one that fits on this axle cup. So this outer one we're going to cut right along this edge right here. It's like the ballooned edge here, and then we have another spot right there where our clamp is going to go to hold it onto this axle cup. Put it on, packed it all up with grease, got it all slapped together, and then I put a little bead of RTV around the edge of the boot for this rear end, and I just wanted to make sure that no grease could leak out because there's these little valleys right here. And the thing that I noticed with this universal style boot is that it has some space underneath it right here in these dimples, and I didn't want the dimples to leak, so I just put a little dab of RTV on the inside of the boot and then smoothed it around the edge. That should be fine and hold that grease in there, and hopefully not sling it all out inside of this brand new, clean, fresh subframe over here. Next thing we got to move on to doing is we have to remove this upper control arm. We got to drill out this ABS speed sensor right here. We've got to take that sway bar end link nut off. Once this is done, we're going to mount the diff inside of the subframe, clean the bolts off for it. A lot of stuff to do, so we're just going to start knocking things out. My workbench is just a total mess right now. It is what it is. Busted out a couple of special tools here I had to drill the nut on the edge of this sway bar end link because I could not get it to bite. Then I had to fire up this little grinder here and cut through it. I got the nut cut and split right here and cut half of the shaft right there. Got that out. I got most of the ABS sensor out. There's still some plastic in there. I'll have to get that out. Got the ABS wiring clips and fasteners pulled out. All this stuff is junk. We're gonna clean this area up a little bit and try to straighten out the dust shield as best we can. Then we gotta pull off Captain Rusty, the upper control arm here. Look at how bad that thing is. That thing is terrible. Holes and stuff in it. We have new ones, but still, just bad. This part I don't think I've ordered yet, so we might have to reuse just this one for now. The rest of them, we have replacements coming. They're just running really, really late, so I'm gonna get after cleaning this off, guys, and we're gonna keep moving along. Holy crap! This bolt, to take this upper control arm out, I just pulled it out, just dropped out. It's pretty warm still. You can see it's very pitted and rusted. It's actually smoking still. I don't know if you guys can see that. Well, she's a little warm there. I'm gonna find a drill bit that fits this, and I'm gonna run it through there to clean the rest of the crap out of there. Something else that I wanted to share with you guys. If you have a rust problem, or you have a rusty part and you're trying to refinish it and you don't have a sandblast cabinet, pick yourself up one of these. This is a $25 clearance Harbor Freight needle scaler, and this thing is fantastic. Let's go ahead and throw a diff in this thing. In, the mount's in. I put a little bit more black urethane paint on it, and I'd say it came out pretty nice. I mean, this is a pretty solid, clean, fresh rear subframe. But we're going to move over to the last piece of this whole puzzle here. Well, with the exception of the control arms we're still waiting on. Got these things cleaned off. These are the ones that came off my car. I sandblasted them. They came out so nice. I mean, the rubber's not destroyed on them. It's still really solid. I didn't get any solid bushings. I was going to. Probably should have, but I didn't. I really didn't want to have to cook the bushings out of these or knock them out or any of that. Those ones are in decent shape from the donor. These ones are in decent shape for my car. I'd say we just go ahead and clean them up some. Put a little bit of this urethane on. We're going to reuse them. Two coats is the way to go. This is one coat so far. I'm probably gonna hit it again just because you can see there's some thin spots in it. Like you can see right there, there's a thin spot. Maybe I won't. I'm not sure. I'm gonna let this set up and dry. Another thing to do if you guys are doing small pieces and small parts, go ahead and warm them up. Actually, I'm using an old blow dryer because I don't have a heat gun. I'm just getting them warm so that this stuff gets on there and it basically heats it up, helps it set up and tack up, and dries so much quicker. Otherwise, it's kind of like an overnight process. Finally, we got our parts in. This is 2 sets of control arms to the rear from Godspeed. They're out of stock. They whipped up some more, and they sent them to me. It took them about 2 weeks instead of 2 days. Here's the part number. ART, it's AK027 and AK026, and you guys can see that right there, hopefully. These are fantastic. They're in really, really great shape. Good looking parts. These are adjustable forward and rearward control arms, but they have really nice quality ball joints on them. The hardware is nice. This is heavy. It's got some thick paint on it. These joints are really solid and nice. I'm excited to use these. I know there's other options out there. The Volk Metalcraft ones are out there, But I think to get these, I got them on Amazon, and I contacted Godspeed because they didn't show up in the 2 days, and they said they were delayed, and they just said they had to manufacture more of them. So they hooked me up. I don't have any issues with this. We're obviously going to have to do alignment after we're done here. Onto the driver's side rear, and I urethaned this whole inner wheel well. And if you guys look, it looks crispy in here. Everything looks fresh. So I did all the way around, even to the plastic right here, just because, make it match. But it came out great. This stuff, I actually laid it on a little thick. There's some runs in it, but I'm fine with it. It's coated, it's protected. I didn't even have to put any seam sealer on this joint over here because it filled everything in so nice. So that's good. We have to take this control arm out. That's the other one. Okay, so the short one is the forward, the longer one is the rearward. So we're gonna take this out through the stock hole that we left when we replaced all the metal. And this is just the e-brake cable laying through here. Once that thing comes out, we're gonna be able to bolt in the new adjustable ones, change all the camber and alignment in the rear here, and hopefully have this car back on the road by the end of the week. I came out here, got my creeper, got my little container over there of rust trap, my light. I'm gonna crawl up under the bottom here, and I'm gonna lay a coat all the way from this wheel well under the back where the subframe bolts up, and just hit everything that I can across this whole area. Well, boys, you can see the rain has started to fall. I did make some progress. I got another coat on this wheel arch, and up underneath here, you can see almost everything's in black urethane. I'm still working on it. I got all these spots that needed it taken care of. A good coating on almost all of it. And we got to work on that side over there, replacing the metal. That's for another day. We can come back out here and finally start putting this thing back together. We have the subframe downstairs and all that fun ready to go. Control arms are here, so let's get after it. That was a total pain to put in by myself. I ended up using a ratchet strap and a bungee cord and propping it on the jack, and then I had to bust out a second jack, as you guys saw, and a jack stand and a piece of wood and a lot of finagling, but we got it in here. It's all bolted back in. Now we get to move on. So I'm gonna pull this arm off first, and hopefully I'll be able to get that out easy. Here's where we're at, guys. If you take a look, we got our front arm in. Make sure you leave that a little loose. There's a cammed bolt in the front that gives you a tiny little bit of a degree adjustment. We've got our new uppers. We've got our new forward, lower, and rearward. We're reusing this one right here, which isn't in terrible shape. It's just kind of ugly. I was gonna take it off and sandblast it and clean it and paint it, but you know what? I can just take that part out and replace it later on if I want to. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say screw it. Oh yeah, here's the old one that came out. It's really not in terrible shape. It's a little crusty, a little rusty, but you know what? I've seen worse. So throw that off to the side. Has a big flake of rusty crap flies off of it. And I'm gonna go ahead, get my keys, pop this hatch open, and hopefully we can get this thing put back together and drive it in the next week, because it's been sitting here for way too long. Guys, we've got a couple of parts slapped in here. We're gonna go ahead, slide this control arm up into place here, bolt that bad boy in, and that takes one of these big long bolts that's down here. Sorry for the light, it's kind of blinding. I'm going to try to get this other new control arm slapped in here. I don't have hardware for it. I looked, it's just not there. Then we're gonna slap the strut in and connect the drive shaft. So I'm gonna bust this stuff down as fast as I can because it's starting to get cold out. Another night in the books. I think I'm gonna leave this one right here. If you guys stay tuned, we're gonna have a couple more episodes that are pertaining to this whole big project here. One is this bodywork and the welding and all the repair. Another one is painting up the side skirts from plastic. They're plastic side skirts, so I'm making a video on that right now, refinishing those parts. I've got everything slapped back together here. Tomorrow I'm gonna pick up a bolt for this camber arm in the back, but I've got everything on this side bolted in. I've got to slap the e-brake and the brakes back together and throw the wheel on it. I'm not going to bore you guys with slapping the e-brake and the rear brakes back together. The axle's in, the boot's replaced, the subframe's in, the diff's back in, the drive shaft's attached. All I've got left is literally brake components and put my exhaust back on. So I'm going to leave it right here, guys. If you're still with me, thanks a ton for following. It's been a long one. This one took me more time than I planned on it taking. We ended up having to pull a lot of parts off, refinish a lot of things, wait quite a while on some parts, and do some body work in the middle of it all. It's been about a month since I got this thing all pulled apart, and now it's pretty much back together. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to drive the car again. It's been so long, but we're gonna have to hit the alignment shop soon once we get all this stuff done. I'm gonna go over and finish the passenger side, and I think that's it, guys. If you guys enjoyed this one, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you check out our new merch, which we're gonna have shirts and designs dropping as soon as I can get this video out. There should be a couple more new ones. I'm trying to do a couple new ones every couple weeks. It's tpgdsm.com. Check it out, link in the description. If you guys want to pick up any of these parts, these Godspeed parts, control arms, camber correction kits, go to stmtune.com. They have them. I think extremepsi.com has them. Check out your Haynes manual. Go to emanualonline.com. You can buy a manual if you guys need information on putting all the brakes and stuff or doing anything on this car. Emanual Online has all that stuff. I think it's like $26 or $27. You can download the whole DSM teardown manual, and it's great. So check that out. But anyways, guys, I'm going to end this one here. Our subframe's in. All the undercoating stuff is done. Passenger side's got to go. Oh boy, not too excited about that, but I'm gonna go inside and warm up. It's been a long one. Definitely a breath of fresh air that this stuff's knocked out. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. Stay tuned.